We're going to go through some of the metabolism homework questions. For the formation of lactic acid, we'll start with glycolysis. Glycolysis in the cytosol of the cell makes some ATP, some NADH molecules, and pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid becomes acetyl-CoA to enter the mitochondria and then go through the Krebs cycle and electron transport chain to ultimately form many, many more ATP. When someone exercises more intensely, then glycolysis activity increases, and then the formation of pyruvic acid becomes more than can be converted into acetyl-CoA and used up in the mitochondria. Then the overflow or extra pyruvic acid must be temporarily converted into lactic acid. When the increased energy demand, the intense exercise, is over, then the lactic acid returns and becomes acetyl-CoA and is used up by the mitochondria again. Thus, the formation of lactic acid is only a temporary state while excessive pyruvic acid is being made and there's a backlog. At a moderate, sustainable exercise level, like walking or jogging, glycolysis forms pyruvic acid while also making some ATP in the cytosol. Pyruvic acid then goes to the mitochondria to make more ATP with oxygen. Increasing exercise intensity to a level that can only be sustained for a short period, like sprinting, more ATP is made by glycolysis, which makes more pyruvic acid, then turns into lactic acid and escapes into the blood temporarily until it returns to the cells to be used as energy when the sprinting has finished. Another question had to do with NADH and FADH2 conversion into ATP. Conversion of NADH and FADH2 requires oxygen. We can see from glycolysis that only 2 ATP are made, and likewise for the Krebs cycle, for a total of 4 ATP from these two systems, from one molecule of glucose. However, both glycolysis and Krebs cycle, a number of NADH and FADH2 are created. These are like tokens for more ATP once we get oxygen. So when oxygen is utilized to convert one NADH molecule, 3 ATP molecules are generated. For the 8 molecules of NADH we see here, that means 24 ATP are made by using oxygen. FADH2, they make 2 ATP. From the 2 created in the Krebs cycle, that means a total of 4 ATP. The main point that you need to know is that oxygen is required to convert NADH into 3 ATP, and oxygen is required to convert FADH2 into 2 ATP. So in summary, the NADH, when combined with oxygen, will form 3 ATP. FADH2, when combined with oxygen, will form 2 ATP. This occurs in the mitochondria in the electron transport chain. So one NADH makes 3 ATP, one FADH2 makes 2 ATP. But you need oxygen in the electron transport chain within the mitochondria for this to happen. Our bodies use glucose and fatty acids as the primary fuel to form ATP to keep us alive. The brain uses glucose and not fat. When a person has low glucose availability in the blood due to a diabetic coma or lack of consuming carbohydrates or other reason for lack of glucose, the liver must provide an alternative source for fuel for the brain. Fatty acids enter the liver and go through beta oxidation to create 2 carbon units. These are converted into beta hydroxybutyrate and acetoacetate, which are converted into acetyl-CoA and provide energy for the brain by being used in the Krebs cycle, an electron transport chain, and ultimately makes 22 ATP. Acetone, a fruity-smelling gas, is removed via the urine as well as in the exhaled breath. The process of ketone formation occurs during periods of starvation or carbohydrate restriction, uncontrolled diabetes, among other conditions. For our class, you should know that ketones are produced using fat to provide energy for the brain when carbohydrates are not available.